So recently I did a video talking about how disappointed I was with Festival Lost this year because they couldn't even add one new Haunted Lost sector. I say new when in reality they're just reused assets with Halloween decorations like spammed in like Forge if this was Halo. Something that somebody in Forge probably would be able to make in like an hour. No offense, Bungie, but like come on. It would be, but I could see people being able to make that stuff in mods or in Forge and Halo very quickly. I see you, okay? I am not just saying, but regardless, I was just disappointed that they didn't do anything and they couldn't even take the Haunted Forest back. Like if they really weren't going to do much of anything this year for the Halloween event. But the reason why I want to make this video is because recently I reacted to the dev live stream and they mentioned Dawning and they mentioned changes, and those changes were ingredients related, and that's it. Like it was just the most disappointing thing to hear. And then they show off the dragon armor for the Eververse store, and that thing was amazing, I won't lie. But it made me realize that it's just like how out of touch Bungie is when it comes to these like events. Like these are free events, well, quote unquote. I know that they're mainly to focus the microtransactions and the Eververse store and stuff like that, but they are free. And these events, funny enough, will always get new players to be interested in your game because it's a whatever themed holiday event. I've seen that happen with a lot of games, but yet with Destiny, it just kind of feels like it's just catered to already people that are playing the game, because the mode or whatever the main gameplay part of the event is normally pretty bland or just kind of if you missed out on that part, oh well. The main thing that you're missing out on is obviously the weapons, the cosmetics and all that stuff. That's why we play these events ourselves. Like, I won't lie, the loot's great, the cosmetics are great and all that stuff, but I'm not like, oh man, I can't wait to do Haunted Lost sectors. And that's where I want things to change, because it's crazy to me that Bungie doesn't think that these events should get an overhaul. Like, imagine if they one day just made a Bungie Destiny post, like a blog, and they were like, the whole idea of it was overhauling events and bringing back Crimson Days as well. Like, overhauling them to be something unique and fun rather than something that we kind of brush to the side, or we get our loot and then we get out. Like, it's something that we're actually looking forward to see come back every single year. I've said this so many times. Like, it just, if you compare these like holiday events to a lot of other games, sure, there's some that are worse than Destiny, but there's some that are way, way better, and they do a really good job for their holiday events. And I know that there was like people saying that, well, the reason why this year they didn't do much with the Haunted Lost sectors is because of the layoffs. I'm like, I would believe you on that if they didn't also like triple, quadruple down on the Eververse store. Like, did you see how many armor sets data mined and what already like revealed that we're getting in this episode alone? It's crazy. And this is the same company that told you, hey, it's too hard to make our armor sets for vendors every year. We can't do that. It's too much work. Meanwhile, also, we're going to make like 6 different sets of armors for all the characters within like 4 months, because we could do that now all of a sudden. Like, it just doesn't look good on their end. It just doesn't. And it makes me so annoyed that it's like we're apologizing for Bungie on that. Like, oh, we get it. You can't add another Lost sector. It's like, come on. It's something that somebody would be able to make in Forge. And that's kind of why I've been always pushing that for Destiny in itself, because that the community would keep our attention with content, because people would make cool maps for PvE or PvP and stuff like that. Even Gambit. I mentioned that in a previous video as well with Forge. But here we are. They couldn't even take the Haunted Forest and bring that back. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, I thought everyone hated it. It was kind of like those situations where it's like you don't know you like something until it's gone or whatever. Like the Haunted Forest was better than what we have now. with the haunted lost sectors, in my opinion, at least when it was at its best, because there was a point in time, like I think it was like the last year of Haunted Forest, where they changed things in the worst ways. Like they did the chocolate coin thing, where you would get the chocolate coins mainly from outside the event. So you were like doing the event maybe 10% of the time. And yeah, that sucked. Like I hated that. I wanted to just do the haunted forest, and I was throwing my loot grinds if I did that. I didn't like that. That was bad. But yeah, regardless, the whole like, you know, theme with the event and stuff, it should be pretty easy to think of something like really crazy for it. And I mentioned in my previous video that what if they did an overhaul where we have Onslaught as the event for Festival Lost, a map where it's a haunted house, and wherever the ADU moves, it's aesthetically a haunted house themed spooky area, whether it be a cemetery outside, the interior haunted house, maybe some spooky basement thing, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that would be the aesthetic. It would just be one like big map for Onslaught that's a haunted house. And they could even have the traps be themed to the haunted house theme or whatever, like, you know, pumpkin trip mines or whatever. And same thing with the enemies. They can change their attire to be spooky themed too. Whatever it may be. And when you do like the whole Onslaught, like running around part, that it could be the haunted forest. And then when you do the boss, it's the boss arena from the haunted forest or something completely different. The point I'm making is that would be, honestly, in my opinion, a good idea. And like that would be something that they can keep as like something that returns, maybe with like small changes here and there. They don't have to do anything crazy, but after like maybe like 5 years, they update it with like a new spooky theme, like a forest or something like that, like another map. But yeah, no, we didn't get that, obviously. Now, when it comes to Dawning, I said the same thing. Like, it sounds like I'm a broken record with Onslaught, but what if for Dawning we had Onslaught and it's a snowy, like, holiday theme with holiday lights and everything, or Dawning, you know, decorations everywhere, and then you have, like, stasis-themed, like, enemies. Like, remember the Frozen Hive? What if they brought those back somehow and did something more to them? I don't know. And have, like, holiday-themed, like, ice bosses and stuff for that Onslaught map. And it'd be the same thing. That would be good. And then all the traps would be, like, snowballs or stasis-themed, like, you know, cold items or whatever. And, yeah. Like, I mean, I know that we want like Sparrow Racing back, and I mentioned that that's what Guardian Games needs to replace. And I mentioned that as well, that like, what if we had Sparrow Racing for Guardian Games instead of Dawning, and Dawning would get that like Horde mode. And when it comes to Sparrow Racing, I don't know why, like they said it was, I guess, apparently too expensive. That's crazy to me. Like, then if that, it's just, yes, maybe it was like, I think that it would be like expensive to try and to make sure that it's like balanced and it's working every year. And like trying to implement it into Destiny 2, because obviously taking it from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 is not like, you know, copy paste, easy peasy. But once you get it in there, it's just kind of making maps. And that's it. Like I like that's like the extent. Like the hard part should be done, I would assume. But okay, fine. If it's too expensive, then why don't we do like an Onslaught thing? The thing is that it's just, we do these like snowballs, like upgrades and stuff, and it's kind of disappointing that we still don't use them in like raids or dungeons. Like, where's the fun? It's like Bungie doesn't want you to have fun during the event either. Like we were close to something crazy, like where it's like basically mayhem for raids when they had what was it, Revenant? Before Guardian Games, where if you would get like multi-kill like headshots to enemies, they would just drop a bunch of orbs on the ground, basically giving you your super right away. And I was like, oh, imagine doing raids with this. And originally it was working, and then they had to turn it off because there was like guitar errors or something like that. So it could be like a stability issue, but like, come on, like, can we get this stuff to work? Like, it's funny how we can have counterfeit work perfectly fine with, tricking us with an exotic engram that goes boom and stuff like that in Grandmasters, but we can have other goofy, like, fun modifiers that makes the experience better and fun for the time being. Like even just like the snowballs. Like, imagine doing DPS with snowballs on bosses because they're actually like pretty meta for the time being, just for the event. That's what I'm trying to say. And yet we don't have that. We don't even have like a PvP like focused snowball fight mode. Like, why? These are things that it's right there. You're just right there. And we're not doing it. But yeah, we don't have that either. For Dawning. So Crimson Days, that was where I was like super confused. Again, if we're talking about a company that's like, oh, we got to make money with Eververse stuff, the Valentine like theme was a good way to make money. So I don't know why they just were like, we can't think of any ideas. Like their extent of their idea for Crimson Days was annoying spam abilities in PvP. And they were like, you know what? That's all we got. They couldn't even do like something just, like Destiny 1, where it's like if your partner dies, then you go into like a rage and like all your stats are boosted. They did that. It wasn't like spamming abilities and that's it when you're next to your partner. So I don't know why they didn't try to do that first before they were just like pulling the plug on Crimson Days. But even then, why not have a like duo like horde mode or something, like in a and have like Shax and like Saladin and whatever like talking in your ear about oh, your partner and this, and like with like funny things to say or whatever, like seeing you and your partner throw grenades puts a warm feeling in my chest or whatever, like just anything. I'm bad at thinking of ideas of funny dialogue, but just any kind of dialogue that you would think of for, Crimson Days coming out of, Shax or Saladin or whoever, even Saint, like, just, in there, Marasov, etc., Drifter. And it's like maybe, like I said, it's like maybe some kind of like horde mode. So kind of like Onslaught, but now it's 2 players or something. They could even do triple, players if they want to. One person is just there. but like, yeah, they could have done like a duos kind of like PvE-esque activity, and they didn't even do that. And it would be like a love like themed like arena with a lot of hearts and the red petals that they had like in Destiny 1's tower. And they would be able to make Eververse stuff themed to the Valentines. And nope. They thought it would be better to just pull the plug on that event entirely. That makes no sense to me. Like, it's crazy to me that they just were like, nothing. It's just like the same thing with like the faction rally. Like, I get why it didn't really work, because people would just like focus the faction that had like the meta loot first and stuff like that. But they could have changed it maybe where it's like not entirely like, based around metas. I don't know. But even then, come on, Crimson Days, let's stay focused on these events. Like, why is it gone? Why? You could have done that when I mentioned with the Crimson Days thing. And then obviously, like I said with Guardian Games, I think that they should either just put Sparrow Racing there, because this whole like the waiting and stuff to who wins and whatever, it's just so boring. It's like you would think that Bungie would just take the L on that one at least versus Crimson Days, and yet they continue to go, oh no, it's gonna be fair. We're gonna like wait, different classes and stuff because we know that there's more hunters that are playing than all the other classes, so we're gonna weight it and it's totally fair and whatever. No, it's not. It's not do that. It's no more like who won this year, whatever, because it's just who cares? Hell, the statue that they give us is so small. Like, it could be like something huge and put in, I don't know, anywhere that has giant empty space in the tower. I mean, where Saint is, feel bad for the pigeon loving Titan, but he's just in the middle of nowhere over there. Just put the statue somewhere over there. Why not? It's just a lot of room. But like it's just sparrow racing. Why? I don't have to explain it any further than just like it's just sparrow racing, but in Guardian games. But if they want to still do the whole like theme of like a challenge or whatever, take the aesthetic that they put in the tower and make a menagerie where it's 3 players and you're like, or maybe it's like multiple different fire teams like of the same class. So like maybe like 3 warlocks, 3 titans, and 3 hunters, and they're like in separate rooms, and you have to like do certain tasks, and if you do well, then you get like medals and stuff for each like round, and it's like a different thing, just like the menagerie, like how the menagerie had the running thing. Then the same thing with this Guardian Games mode. You know, same thing with like taking out enemies and taking out a boss. Like how quick can you take out a boss, or how well can you take out enemies? Like with like modifiers and stuff like that. Just any kind of like almost like Olympic Games kind of thing, but with the different classes. They could have done that. And no, apparently strikes with fun modifiers that should be in the strike playlist, which I think granted most of them. No, because I think Small Arms is not in the strike playlist still, and I was disappointed that I saw that on Guardian Games and it's not in the strike playlist ever. But yeah, why not do that? A menagerie for Guardian Games. Now, for Solstice, this is kind of where I'm like, they were on the right track with this one. I won't lie. But then they were just being very passive with it, where they never updated it with like a new map. And actually, they tore down its personality. It used to have like the different vibes of like the time. It would be like morning, evening, night, and that would change like what the enemies would be, like if it's Hive, Cabal, or whatever. And then the same thing with the bosses. There was like at least like what 2 or 3 different bosses for each faction, like for the Hive and stuff. Like for the Fallen, there was a giant server that turned into tiny servitors. It was that boss. And then we had like a captain, and I think that was it. I think there was like only 2, but I think that there was like a 3rd one, but I'm not entirely sure. But they could have just kept that, except change the maps. Like instead of it always being the EDZ, I mentioned long ago that what if they took Europa the next year and made an EDZ out of that? It would literally be the Europa aerial zone. So EAZ again, because that's what it was called, the EAZ. But they could have done that with like a lot of patrol themes and just updated it. Like every like maybe like 2 years or so, they would just change the map, or 3 years or something. It's been so long, and they have only done worse to the mode. It's actually disappointing the way that they changed it, where it used to have these like, again, unique bosses. Now it's this, here's a taken enemy. Why? Even the map aesthetic. Like, again, it's sad that we don't get the day, morning, evening, night kind of thing. That's gone. And there's like no reason to explore the map anymore. Like that was one of the big things as well. So it's I don't know. That's where it's like, come on. This is exactly why when it comes to these events, it's disappointing. That's it. Like that's why I wanted to make this video, is because when I heard about the Dawning, I'm like, it's just why? You can, and even if you don't want to do anything to it, you can make it more fun. Like I mentioned, like what if there were snowballs in every raid and dungeon as well, and they were actually like really good DPS options just for the 3 weeks. I know that there's gonna be people being like, you didn't earn the loot in that thing because you just used the OP snowballs for those 3 weeks. Just like when the crafting happened, where like people were like beating, dungeons flawlessly because they had like the broken weapons and stuff. It's like, I guess I get it, but then it's like at that point, then maybe have like a rotation of like raids, and you can't get like certain triumphs because you're using snowballs. I don't know if we're gonna be like very restrictive on like titles that, like, okay. But the point is fun. That's what I want to see. These are supposed to be things that makes people want to get on. The last time that people were flooding to get on Destiny were the things that were broken, and Bungie has no idea to take that into consideration at all. Have you noticed that? Remember the 12-man raids? People were flooding to get on Destiny to do that because it was fun. It was breaking something that you were used to doing, like just, raids with 6 players. But oh my gosh, now you can do it with 12 players. That's crazy. People would be getting on instantly if that happened again. Those are things that get people's attention to play Destiny again, whether new players or returning players or whatever. It's the same thing when that crafting glitch happened. People were flooding to get on to make their broken weapons and either use it in PvP or PvE, because the PvP, I know that it was really frustrating for a lot of people, but in PvE, people were doing that. I mean, I did. I was so excited to get on and do that because it was so different. That's the point. Different. Fun. The focus is fun. Like, Bungie's like, oh, we're digesting this info. Yet they know nothing of why people are not flooding to get on these events. It's because they don't have the same vibe as the 12-player raids or the broken crafting. I'm not saying that they have to do stuff to that extent, obviously, but even just like snowballs and raids and dungeons, being able to do crazy DPS with those, having a unique mode like a haunted house onslaught mode for Festival of Lost, having sparrow racing come back, or a snow globe themed onslaught map or something, having fun things outside the modes as well that are unique to the thing, the event. So in this case, like I said, the snowballs, imagine you can use snowballs in raids and stuff, and you still have that onslaught map. For Festival of Lost, maybe you have the throwable explosive pumpkins as well as a thing for raids and dungeons and such. I don't know. Maybe you have mayhem modifiers where you get your super a lot in raids during solstice. Something. Just something. I don't know. It's just that these are reasons why it would be actually really funny to me just to see if, like, Bungie allowed the modding community on, like, PC to make mods in Destiny, like their own raids and dungeons and so on, because I guarantee they would make Bungie look bad in comparison. And that, I'm not wanting that, but it's just like, that's the reality at this point, where it's like this whole, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. Then just add Forge. It's just, I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad, just disappointed. Like, and it's which is crazy to me, because, like, wouldn't you want to see all this stuff? Or at least, like, some unique changes to the things that you expect every year for Destiny 2? Like, the whole expecting haunted lost sectors every year. It's just so disappointing. We need some more to these events. And that's what I mentioned. So, I don't know. Like, I don't mind them still, like, selling microtransactions and all that stuff. Like, if they want to make money, obviously, that's fine. But it's just hilarious to me that Festival Lost basically did nothing new other than, like, one weapon. So pretty much, like, the Eververse profits that they're probably earning is like they only had to use maybe like 1% of the earnings to make that weapon. Like, that's at least what it feels like to make that one weapon. When, yeah, they mentioned long ago that these events would pay for themselves to basically make the next year's event better. Doesn't feel like that. It's the same. I don't know. I'm done ranting, but I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? And why? And again, if you're somebody that's like, well, Chibi, you got to be realistic here. They have the layoffs and stuff. Again, I would agree with you if they didn't also quadruple down on the Eververse armor sets, because that also takes a lot of time to make. But, when it's money stuff, like direct money, that's a different story, of course. Of course. So, I don't know. That's where I'm at. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a chibi-tastic day, night, evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you in the next video. I am looking forward to Act 2, though. Prison of Elders.